What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Jackson, once again sitting in my car to film a video, and it's nice and sunny today, but I still have to wear a hoodie because it's 40 degrees in Indiana in May for some reason. Power's here, and today is another episode of AEW Dynamite review in my car. So, last night, AEW was on for 3 hours. They had Dynamite from 8 to 10, and then they had Collision till 11. I watched all of it, and we're going to go over it and review it. So, right off the bat, I do want to say that at the very beginning of the show, before they even played the intro, they did a very nice tribute to Ted Turner, who passed away, which rest in peace to him. He's a big part of the wrestling business, as he worked for the TNT and TBS and all that, and he was the one guy who was really insistent on having pro wrestling be on those networks, like back with the WCW days and now with the AEW. So yeah, they had a nice tribute to him. Tony Schiavone cut a nice little tribute promo. Then Sting came out. He said a lot of nice words, and they did a 10-bell salute. And it was just a really nice moment to kick off the show. And they dedicated the whole episode to Ted Turner. So after that, the intro graphic hit, and the opening match started. All right, so the first match of the show was Jon Moxley versus Juice Robinson in an AEW Continental Championship Eliminator match, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a number one contenders match. If the challenger wins, they get a title shot in the future, or if it goes the distance and the time limit, the challenger also gets a title shot. So in this case, Jon Moxley is the champion. Juice Robinson was the challenger. Everyone barred from ringside because it was under Continental rules. And it was a good match. I enjoyed it. It was a great way to kick off the show. A lot of back and forth. Honestly, title not being on the line, it's just an eliminator match. You definitely wondering who's going to win. It kind of felt unpredictable, at least to me a little bit. But in the end, it almost went the distance, but it didn't. Jon Moxley got the win. He made Juice Robinson pass out, sorry. Technically, he won by submission, but Jon Moxley made Juice Robinson tap out, and Juice Robinson does not get a shot at the title. So immediately after that match, they cut to a backstage segment that was filmed earlier in the day and involved the Death Riders training with Will Ospreay. Basically, they're telling him he needs to get his neck right, and he needs to have that killer instinct to get it done in AEW and all that, and that's what the Death Riders are trying to teach him. And I think it was a pretty solid segment. It showed Will Ospreay doing some crazy workouts, and then Jon Moxley talked to him and said, basically, just like, get your shit together in a way, and that's why we're training you, because we want you to have that killer instinct and shit like that. So, pretty decent segment. I like the story they're telling, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So after that, it was Orange Cassidy versus Dax Harwood in a double Jeopardy match. So basically how that works is whoever wins gets a shot at the other person's title. Dax Harwood is one half of the tag champions, and Orange Cassidy is 1/3 of the trios champions. So basically whoever won got a shot at the other title. And this match was straight up chaos, because there was a fuck ton of people at ringside. The Young Bucks, Cope and Christian were out there. There was someone else I can't think of right now. And then Dax Harwood had a bunch of people in his corner as well. And it was just like, wow, this is just fucking crazy. So the match itself was actually pretty good. I liked the story. Early in the match, Orange Cassidy went for his orange punch on the outside, but he punched the outside steel post. So the rest of the match, he was selling a hand injury. He went for the orange punch a bunch. He hit it one time, but he didn't get the cover in time because he couldn't. His hand was hurt, and by the time he got to the cover, Dax Harwood kicked out. In the end, Orange Cassidy won with a roll-up, kind of like a sort of thing. And then as soon as the ref hit 3, everybody who was on the outside got in the ring and just started fucking going at it. So it was just straight up chaos, and it was pretty cool. In the end, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Cope, and Christian, and the Young Bucks all stood tall pretty much. So chaos, but it was fun. After that, we went backstage. Renee Paquette was interviewing Chris Jericho, and Jericho said, I want to go to the people to say what I need to say. So he grabbed the mic and he walked out into the arena, and he started cutting a promo talking about how he wanted Ricochet to come out to the ring and they could do Jericho wanted a 1v1 face-off, but Ricochet came out with his group. Cannot think of their names right now, but they came out. Ricochet, he called the city they were in North. He said they were in North Carolina when they were in South Carolina because he's a bald idiot. And then after that, Ricochet challenged Jericho to a Stadium Stampede match at Double or Nothing, which is Chris Jericho's match. And Ricochet said, you have to find 4 other people. And no, there's not 4 people that like you. And Ricochet has 2 other people with him, so we only need to find 2 more people. And then it's like, Jericho accepted the challenge, and he said, even if I can't find 4 people, I'll beat you guys by myself. And then he took out everybody. He threw both of Ricochet's guys out of the ring, and then he hit the Judas effect on Ricochet. And then he went for the lion salt, and then one of the guys grabbed Jericho by the leg. And then they started beating up Jericho. And then the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, they came out to save Jericho. So it looks like the Hurt Syndicate could be on Jericho's team. And I do kind of like that I feel like they're telling the story like they don't really like Jericho. They just hate Ricochet that much. They're willing to work with Jericho. So I definitely see the Hurt Syndicate being involved in that match. And then I'm interested to see who else is in that match. I'm really excited to see Jericho potentially telling the story of like trying to make amends with people that he's wronged in the past. So that should be interesting, and I'm pretty excited for the rest of that build. So after that, we go backstage to an interview with Mina Shirakawa and Harley Cameron as they're talking about their tag match later in the night against Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. And basically, Harley Cameron got fired up and ready for the match. And then that was really all there was to that. There wasn't a whole lot. So immediately after that, we went out to the ring, and it was time for the AEW the AEW International Championship match. Kazuchika Okada, the champion, took on Brian Keith, a guy I've never heard of, but I was interested to see what he could do. They put on a really good match. I was really happy with what I saw, but in the end, Okada won because, I mean, he's got his match with Konosuke Takeshita at Double or Nothing for the International Championship. So you knew Okada wasn't going to lose, but it was still an exciting match. Okada's good. I think he can have a good match with a fucking broomstick. So, yeah. And then after, Okada got on the mic and said he was going after the world title because he wasn't happy with one title. He wanted 2 titles, so he wants the world title next. After that, we were backstage again for a Jet Speed promo, which is Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. Basically, are talking about how Kevin Knight has the world title match with Darby Allin later in the night and how he's going to win the title. And Mike Bailey's just kind of there happy for him. And that's really all there was to that promo. Then they go to commercial, come back from commercial. They're backstage. The Ops are there, Samoa Joe, Anthony Bowens, and some other dude. Basically, Samoa Joe was talking about how Will Ospreay shouldn't train with the Death Riders. He should train with the Ops because the Ops are better than the Death Riders and they know more. So I'm interested to see where that goes. That should be pretty interesting. But, you know, anytime Samoa Joe's on the screen, I get pretty happy about it because Samoa Joe is cool as shit. After that, it was time for the tag match between Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida going up against Mina Shirakawa and Harley Cameron. It was a pretty good match. They told the story of Harley Cameron wanting to go after Hikaru Shida, but Hikaru Shida being like, fuck that, I don't want to fight Harley Cameron. And they told that story the entire match until eventually Harley Cameron got in against Hikaru Shida. They had a nice back and forth, but in the end, Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander picked up the win. But after the match, it looked like Chris Statlander wasn't too happy with Hikaru Shida, and that tension's still building. So I think they're definitely starting to go forward with a Hikaru Shida heel turn. Definitely see that happening in the future. I think her and Chris Statlander could have a phenomenal match if they go that route, because they're both really good in the ring. So that would be a pretty good match. So hopefully that happens, because that would be fire as fuck. So after that, we went backstage. It was a Swerve Strickland promo. He was talking about basically wanting to go against the Wanted Man. And he was just talking about everything he wants to pretty much do in AEW. I don't really remember what happened, because it wasn't that memorable, to be honest. But it was a pretty decent promo, at the very least. But I just picked up the Wanted Man thing. He wants to go after the Wanted Man, which after commercial, we cut backstage to Brody King and Bandito doing a backstage interview. And Bandito was talking about, oh, Swerve Strickland wants to talk shit about me. Well, fuck him. That's not what he said, but that's what it felt like. And then Brody King was also like, yeah, if you listen to Swerve, you got a problem with Bandito, you got a problem with me, because that's my friend. So maybe that could be something cool we go down. I don't really know. But yeah, I don't even... See, this is why most of the time I don't talk about every single backstage segment, but I'm trying something new this time. After that, it was time for the AEW Dynamite main event. Not the Collision main event, because we still have a whole hour of Collision to talk about after this match happens. But the Dynamite main event was Darby Allin versus Kevin Knight for the world title. And they put on a phenomenal match. It was really cool. They did a cool spot where Kevin Knight did a springboard, like, clothesline to the outside over the announce table. But Kevin Knight hurt his knee, and he was selling that knee for the rest of the match. And it really affected everything he tried to do. Anytime he tried to go up to the top rope, it affected him. Anytime he tried to... Like, for example, there was a time where he countered the coffin drop by putting his knees up, and then he hurt the fuck out of his knees. And they had me with a false finish for a minute there, because, like, Kevin Knight hit his finisher. He hit the UFO. And I thought, like, no fucking way. And then he didn't cover him right away, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not it. That's not going to be the end of the match. And then Darby kicked out. And then eventually, the finish happened. Kevin Knight was, like, hung up on the top rope, like, back first. Like, he was stomach first on the top rope, face down with his back exposed. Darby Allin hit a coffin drop. And then once Kevin Knight was on the mat, he hit another coffin drop and pinned him to retain the title. And that was how AEW Dynamite ended. However, it cut to Collision right away with Darby Allin in the ring celebrating, holding the title. And then MJF's music hit and the crowd booed the shit out of him, as they should. MJF said, I want my rematch. Darby Allin said, no, you have to put something up. And then MJF said, I'll put my scarf up. It's a nice scarf. Darby Allin said, fuck that scarf. So then MJF was like, I'll put up my Dynamite diamond ring. And then Darby Allin was like, fuck that diamond ring. I want something you care about the most. I want your hair. So if you want a rematch, you gotta put your hair on the line. It would be championship versus hair. And next week we're gonna have a contract signing, and if you're not there, you don't get your rematch. MJF, pissed off, just kind of throws the mic down and he walks away. And you think that might be it. It was not it. Kazuchika Okada's music hit. He came out. He challenged Darby Allin to a title match next Wednesday on Dynamite. Darby Allin accepted, so boom. That's going to be a banger. I'm so excited for that match. Because Darby Allin, one of my favorites, Kazuchika Okada, like I said earlier, he could probably wrestle a broomstick and have a good match. So I'm really excited for that. That ought to be a lot of fun. So the first match of Collision was Speedball Mike Bailey versus AR Fox. Pretty solid match all around. Nothing like to go crazy about, but I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun watching it. My boy Speedball got the win. I always love watching Speedball Mike Bailey. He's really good in the ring. So watching him win was pretty sick. And after that, we cut backstage. It was a Death Rider segment. This time it was Pac talking. And basically he said he wanted a shot at the world title, so he challenged Darby Allin to a match. And then later on in the night, during the next match, which is what I'm about to talk about, The match was made official for this Saturday. It's going to be Darby Allin versus Pac for the world title at Fairway from Hell or whatever the fuck it's called, which is the little special hour special they're doing on Saturday. I just said special hour special. That's crazy. But they're doing that on Saturday. That's going to be a banger match. So we're in the span of 1 week, Darby Allin's defending the world title 3 times. That is fucking insane. The next match was Jamie Hayter versus Sky Blue. Pretty solid match all around. Jamie Hayter got the win. And then after the match, she stared down Tekla and Julia Hart, who were in the stands, basically taunting Jamie Hayter. So Jamie Hayter hit another one of her clotheslines on Sky Blue. And really liking what they're doing with that story. I think clearly the next move is going to be Tekla versus Jamie Hayter for the AEW Women's Championship, because Tekla is the current champion. So that should be exciting. And then I think this happened before this match, but I forgot to write it down, so I didn't talk about it. They went backstage. The doctor cleared Will Ospreay, said whatever neck exercises he was doing to keep him up, which means his stuff with the Death Riders is working. So, great stuff. Great stuff. So after that, we went backstage to the Don Callis family. He was basically talking about Mark Davis on Saturday at Fairway from Hell. Mark Davis is challenging Jungle Jack Perry for the national championship, I think is what it's called. The AEW National Championship. I think that's what it's called. It's the weird one that Jungle Jack has. I can't think of the name, but it looks like the old one. I'm pretty sure it's the national one. I could be wrong. I really hope not. They got a lot of titles. But, yeah, I think this needs to be angled down more. I think that I'm excited for that match for sure. It was a pretty decent segment. Don Callis being annoying as usual. And then we talked about Okada potentially winning the title, and basically just wanting the Don Callis family to be stronger. After that, they had Roosh in action. He faced some dude named Manny Lowe. I'm pretty sure he's like an indie guy. Roosh won in like 30 seconds. And then Roosh got on the mic and said, when you mess with the bull, you get the horns. And then he left. So I'm really interested to see what they're doing with Roosh, because the last couple times I've seen him on TV, he's just been squashing people. So we will see where that goes. So after that, we had a vignette for Jungle Jack Perry talking about his title defense against Mark Davis. Basically, he was on a bus that Luchasaurus was driving, and then he got out and he climbed a bunch of mountains. Basically, the vignette was he's ready for any challenge, and it's going to be a pretty solid title defense when he beats the shit out of Mark Davis on Saturday. And then we got to the main event. It was a chaotic 10-man tag team match between the Young Bucks and the Bang Bang Gang going up against the Dogs and the Death Riders. Once again, straight fucking chaos. Because they started fighting before the bell even rang. Then the bell did ring. And then they just went back and forth for like 15 minutes. It was 10 good dudes having a match, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the shit out of it. And in the end, the Young Bucks and the Bang Bang Gang got the win. My guy Ace Austin got the pin. Always love to see that. And then Collision closed with the 5 of them celebrating. So pretty solid match. And overall, it was a solid episode of AEW Dynamite / Collision. So this video was longer because of that. I think I'm going to check out Fairway to Hell on Saturday, maybe do a review of that. Because I usually don't watch Collision, but I watched it this time because it was on immediately after Dynamite. And my consensus is it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed every second of it. And I'm looking forward to see what happens next. I will say, ever since I've checked out AEW, I have enjoyed every second of it. And that is how you do a 3-hour show. Like, WWE seems to be struggling with that. Like, I don't want to compare, but that 3 hours flew by for me. Like, I had so much fun watching that episode of Dynamite / Collision. So, I really hope they can keep it up. It's getting me really excited for Double or Nothing, to the point where I'm thinking about ordering the shit. So, yeah. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of AEW Car Review. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, if you're new around here, turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss a video, and follow in the description box. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.